if you're still cold emailing investors in 2026, I don't know what to tell you. You are not going to get funding for your startup this way. I know founders hate hearing this. I know it's just like the worst news possible because it takes you to square one. Like, what do I do? How do I connect with investors? So today I want to break down and show you exactly what investors are saying when it comes to cold outreach and connection. Welcome to the channel. I'm Chris. I host Next Round Ready, where I interview founders, give them some spotlight, and I also connect with venture capitalists and angel investors consistently to help founders raise capital. And I know a lot about what happens in the fundraising process because this is all I do. So I'm going to show you some of the interviews I've had, some clips and all that stuff. So let's get into it. First, what you got to know is the cold email response rate is like 2 to 5%. That literally means if you send 100 emails, 2 to 5 of them will be answered. Like, really think about that. I know a lot of people are using AI and automation and all of this stuff to just spam investors and do a ton of outreach. But the reality is they never see that. They never answer it. And it's for good reason. They already have so many warm connections from accelerators, other investors, other founders that have exited before they're starting new companies. It's so many things that are in the way of your cold email that whoever you send it to, they probably will never see it. And if they do, there's a 99% chance they don't answer it. That's just the reality. When I interviewed Itamar Novick from Recursive Ventures, he told me this exact thing. Check it out. So you don't even go through and read the short ones that are like 2 or 3 lines.
How can I, if I get 4 deals a day from people that I know and trust and tell me this is awesome, or actually, I have 2 venture partners. Between the three of us, we've done over 600 deals in 25 years. We've backed over 1,200 entrepreneurs. And just think about what happens when you have 1,200 entrepreneurs you've already backed. How many of them start a new company just this year? So like,
oh, man.
I'm bombarded by people who I know and are like, these people are awesome. And now they're starting their next company. And that doesn't even leave me time to read a cold email. So without a warm introduction, I wish I could reply to everybody, but I'm already working 12 hours a day. So what can I do?
So there's the proof from an investor himself who's invested in over 1,000 companies, been doing it for decades. Like, cold outreach just is not going to work. So if cold outreach doesn't work, how do you actually connect with investors? Let's get into that. See, I want to be clear. This isn't about gatekeeping, right? Don't look at me as a gatekeeper because I have the connections to the people you want to connect with. Because if you have a good reason for connecting with them, if you have something valuable, then I'm willing to make that connection, which is how this process works for literally everybody. Whether it's an accelerator operator or some developer or another investor, it's all about relationships. I had an interview with Paul Anthony Claxton from Digerati Investments, and he said this exact thing. I'm always curious to hear what you as an investor, what's a green flag? You know, if you see a founder in an event or if you meet them virtually through outreach or they're referred to you, what's something that you're looking for that immediately catches your attention?
So one thing that would immediately catch my attention, it's the things that we don't see every day, you know? I mean, how many times have you gone on LinkedIn and seen like a post, like I seen a post one time of a founder holding a sign, and it said something to the effect of, you know, he was like pretending to be like, you
homeless?
know, pining for change, but he was.
And what are some red flags that kind of turn you away? You meet a founder at an event and they're trying to tell you about their company in this quick 30 seconds. What's something that makes you immediately go, nope, I'm not interested, walk away like pie?
Yeah, you know, obviously questionable industries like, you know, cannabis, you know, companies that are, I come from the Marine Corps, but I'm interested in defense related companies, but I'm talking about things like cybersecurity, probably not weapons that kill people, right? So things like that. You know, cannabis, gambling, anything, you know, that's questionable there. You know, I'm probably, you know, I would consider it a red flag if the founder goes straight into the money ask without like looking to build a relationship at the very beginning, because that's really what it is. And, you know, we can't get away from the fact that it's a relationship, and, you know, out of the relationship, let's seek for alignment first, not.
The key is warm intros. And the process that I use is to work backwards. So if it's somebody I want to connect with that's here, I'm going to connect with 5 other people that can connect me with that person, right? And so every time I have a conversation with one of those 5 connections, I'm asking if they can refer me to so-and-so. Because sometimes what will happen in your warm intro process is they will send an email, they will send a message on LinkedIn, but it gets lost. People get busy, they forget about it. But if you have 3, 4, or 5 people that are all 5 connections are telling the same person, hey, you got to talk to this guy, you got to talk to Chris. Eventually, they're going to say, well, 5 people have told me about you, so we got to have a conversation. That's how it can work. So it's a kind of a process of attrition. Like you just got to keep going at it sometimes, and then it'll work out. Let me break this down a little bit more and give you even more of a practical process. So this is how you actually get warm intros. This is a process that has worked for me, myself. I'm telling you exactly what I do and why you see investors on Next Round Ready every single week. This is exactly the process. Not charging you a dime. This is just some free game for y'all. Number 1 is to make a list of 25 investors. Now, let me take a step back. When you make this list of investors, make sure that they align with you and where you are. If you have a company that is in the AI space, the vertical AI space specifically, you want to talk to investors that invest in vertical AI, not in healthcare or marketplaces or deep tech, none of that. Vertical AI is where you're focused. So focus in that specific area of expertise. And then you got to map your network. This is where I tell people to leverage LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn, when you go to somebody's page, it'll show you who you're connected to, that they're connected to, right? Like that's how you can make those introduction connections really, really easy. A lot of times you won't have that connection, which I think you can live with. It'll be fine. But that's where you kind of have to, I would say, make a sacrifice a little bit and do the work of finding who they're connected to that you could work with. And think about the show Billions. All that show was bringing on different celebrities from the business world or sports, whatever. And all they would do is connect with different people to get favors done. That's all you need to do to get the warm introductions. What do you need? What do you need? Right? For me, I have leverage because I have the podcast, and people usually want some kind of attention. Even if I can't have them on my show, I know 3 other shows they could be on. So I make an introduction. That's how it works. Another key here is to have like 3 different pieces of information about whatever it is that you're doing. So when people make introductions, they don't have to worry about what to say. They don't word it wrong or get it messed up. When I tell people introduce me, it's, hey, this is Chris. He hosts Next Round Ready, helping founders raise capital. It could be that simple. And if I want to take it a step further, depending on who it is, it'll say how many listeners we have or the partnerships we have with Organize Accelerator, University of Washington, UCLA, like all the different things I'm doing. I'll add on extras. Sometimes I'll add in, the guests we've had on the show, Court Lorenzini or Itamar Novik. Like I list the biggest names I've had on the show, obviously. So there are all kind of different ways to present yourself, but you want to make it easy for your connections to do this for you. Like, this is a branding thing. How do people talk about you when you're not in the room? Matters a lot. And sometimes you tell them what to say, and then it can kind of feed off itself. So if you want to hear more about what these investors are investing in and what they're putting money into, what they look for in founders, how to get connections with them, all of that good stuff, make sure you join a newsletter. The Next Round Ready newsletter is linked in the description box down below. It's completely free, doesn't cost you a thing. Also, go and check out their full episodes. I make sure I do thorough interviews and ask really, really interesting, deep questions. So you as a founder can take that insight and run with it. But if you have any other questions, just hit me up.